Savoy, Britain's first ever luxury hotel. Set between London's sprawling theatreland and the River Thames, it offers its guests an experience unlike any other.
You feel like you're entering somewhere very special. It has the very famous driveway where the cars drive on the right-hand side of the road. It's the only road in London that's like that, so it's iconic from the moment you pull up. On arrival, you're greeted by the doorman in such a manner that it just makes you feel like you're coming home.
It's very beautiful. I love the marble flooring, the black and white tiles. It's just stunning.
You step inside a kind of polished, luxurious world. The noise of London is forgotten. It's a space of fantasy, really.
This level of luxury doesn't come cheap. A stay in their top room, the Royal Suite, starts at £14,000 a night. Although it does come with the use of a chauffeur-driven Rolls-Royce. Service was central to the vision of the man who started it all back in the 19th century, Richard D'Oyley Carte.
He was the Simon Cowell of his era. He was Mr. Showman. It was Richard D'Oyley Carte who brought Gilbert and Sullivan together.
This celebrated duo created some of Victorian Britain's most popular musicals and made their producer fabulously rich. In 1880, D'Oyley Carte used some of that fortune to buy a plot of land along the Strand to build his own theatre. It proved so popular, it gave him another money-making idea: to build a hotel next door where theatre-goers could enjoy dinner and where those from out of town could stay the night. He welcomed the first guests on August the 6th, 1889. For 130 years, it's put up the rich and famous in unparalleled style.
I looked after Buzz Aldrin, and I'm like, this man's been to the moon. It's Buzz Aldrin. He has the Apollo 11 crest on all of his luggage, so you know that you're looking after proper Buzz.
Fred Astaire danced on the roof, and Frank Sinatra's played the piano. It's where Laurence Olivier met Vivien Leigh.
From Hollywood couples to royal couples, all have felt at home in the hotel's sumptuous surroundings.
There's a landmark in royal history that occurs at the Savoy in 1946. It's the first place that Princess Elizabeth, the future Queen, and Prince Philip are photographed together. The couple maintain a relationship with the Savoy for decades.
Serving royalty at the Savoy, it was lovely, but it was frightening because you had to get it right. We knew that Princess Anne drank Coca-Cola. You don't offer a royal tray with one drink on it. You know what the drink is, but you don't do that. You put lots of drinks around it, and then she takes the Coke. And that's a little Savoyism.
For me, royalty was always really exciting because that is the epitome of Britishness, the royal family.
Savoy was so popular because if you didn't want anybody to know you were there, you weren't. And if you did want people to know you were there, you did.
Being noticed was certainly one royal visitor's intention. The year was 1991, and Princess Diana was about to turn 30.
Normally, a royal birthday is a big celebration. Prince Charles had offered to have a party for her, and she'd said no, that she'd rather be in London, and she had this charity event, and she was going to stick to that.
On the 1st of July, her birthday, the princess arrived at the Savoy for the fundraising lunch.
She was very, very charming as she came in, taking flowers from lots of people who were waiting to see her. Because, of course, it was a public event. The Savoy made great fuss of her and had a beautiful big white cake. Everyone said, "What are you doing this evening?" And she said, "I'll be at home with Prince Harry."
It seemed Diana had gone to the Savoy alone, not merely to celebrate, but to send a message.
She decided she was going to show the world that things weren't right. This was the more public unveiling of the fact that they were separating, really.
A year and a half later, Diana's separation from Prince Charles was announced officially. Others have stayed for years, including one hell-raising actor.
I remember one of our long-term guests, Richard Harris, and I had a wonderful relationship with him. Unfortunately, he'd had a heart attack in his suite, and we called the emergency services, and he was brought down on the stretcher into the lobby. And he was still conscious. He turned around, and with his cheeky little smile, he turned to me and pointed and said, "Blame the food, blame the food."
A century earlier, the Savoy had another long-term guest who proved more infamous than any other.
In the early 1890s, Oscar Wilde was a dazzling playwright, the toast of the West End.
In March 1893, Wilde checked into room number 362. It would become the setting for one of the greatest of all Victorian scandals.
The Savoy is where nice people go to do bad things, the kind of things that you wouldn't do at home, possibly with people who wouldn't be allowed over the threshold of your home.
In Wilde's case, it was his gay lover, Lord Alfred Douglas, better known as Bosie. At a time when homosexuality was illegal, the young aristocrat checked into an adjoining room.
It was the kind of debauched rock stars visit to a hotel. They essentially locked themselves in that suite and just ordered everything from room service. Gallons of champagne, turtle soup. They racked up a bill of £7,000 during their stay there, which is an incredible amount of money. You have to times it by 30 to get a figure from the present day.
But the pair's appetite didn't stop at food and drink.
Lord Alfred Douglas introduces Oscar Wilde to the working class male prostitutes, the rent boys, and it's to the Savoy that Oscar Wilde takes them after a quiet dinner for sex.
Wilde appreciated the danger of what he was doing, and I think probably he was a bit excited by it as well. He coined this phrase, feasting with panthers, to describe his activities with these young men who he paid for. And I imagine that the staff had to kind of look askance a bit when they were pushing those trolleys into that room.
Wilde and Bosie checked out at the end of March, but their stay would come back to haunt them. In 1895, Wilde was arrested and put on trial for gross indecency.
The gossip at the Savoy must have been tremendous. Here's one of its most celebrated guests on trial for gross indecency, and the hotel is involved. Some of that indecency has taken place on Savoy premises.
The difficulty the Crown had was to actually prove their case. So they needed someone who had actually seen Oscar Wilde with these young men. And the Savoy provides several very important witnesses, the chambermaid and the masseur, who were able to provide first-hand testimony.
This was a nightmare for the Savoy, an institution where discretion was highly valued.
What goes on in the Savoy and what goes on in a private suite stays in a private suite.
Except in this case, the testimony of the Savoy staff would prove Wilde's undoing.
The word of a member of staff at the Savoy counts for something. Perhaps counts for more than the word of a Victorian sex worker, because you were part of an institution run with incredible discipline. Staff are trained, vetted. They've already been proved loyal, discreet and reliable.
And the jury believed their evidence. Wilde was convicted and sentenced to 2 years hard labour.
It was the end of his career. It was the end of his marriage. It was the end of the friendships he had built up in society. It ruined him as an individual.